A doctor hands you a diagnosis. 3 years, maybe less. Your lungs are turning to stone. 5 million people, 70 years, no cure. Traditional drug discovery costs $200 million, a decade of work. 9 out of 10 still fail. Then AI sat down. 18 months later, a working drug. $6 million. It passed clinical trials, published in Nature Medicine. It works. This is the moment AI rewrote how humanity fights disease forever. Hit subscribe, because the way we cure disease just changed overnight.
Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis has no known cause, no known cure, and a median survival of 3 years after diagnosis. The lungs slowly scar over, breathing becomes harder, then impossible. Patients suffocate over months and years. 5 million people worldwide are currently living with IPF. Around 40,000 Americans die from it every year. Existing treatments can slow the scarring, but they cannot stop it. They cannot reverse it. The disease always wins. This is the landscape pharmaceutical companies have faced for 70 years. Billions spent, thousands of trials, almost nothing to show. The core problem is protein folding. Every disease begins at the molecular level, misfolded proteins triggering catastrophic chain reactions. For decades, mapping a single protein structure took years of laboratory work and millions in equipment costs. In 2020, DeepMind's AlphaFold changed that. It solved the 50-year protein folding problem in a single research cycle. AlphaFold mapped the structure of 200 million proteins, every known protein on Earth, decoded in months. That database became the foundation, the raw material, the library every AI drug discovery system now draws from. A company called Insilico Medicine had been building on that foundation since 2014, training AI on biological data at a scale no human team could match. Their system, called Pharma.AI, could generate, screen, and optimize drug candidates autonomously, no human intuition required. In 2019, Insilico turned their system toward IPF, the disease that had defeated medicine for 70 decades. The AI didn't think like a chemist. It didn't think like a doctor. It thought like a machine optimizing for one thing: results. Within 18 months, the system had identified a novel drug candidate, something no human researcher had ever conceived of. They called it INS-018-055, and it would go on to change everything. To understand why Insilico INS-018-055 is extraordinary, you need to understand what AI drug discovery actually does and why it's nothing like what came before. Traditional drug discovery starts with a target, a protein involved in disease. Then chemists manually design molecules to attack it, one compound at a time. That manual process screens maybe a few thousand compounds per year. Most fail at the first hurdle, the rest fail later. Insilico's AI operates on a completely different level. It uses generative models to design molecules from scratch, molecules that have never existed in nature or in any laboratory. The system screens millions of candidates in days. It predicts binding affinity, toxicity, and stability, all before a single lab experiment is ever run. Then it optimizes, running thousands of iterations, adjusting molecular structure until the candidate is as close to perfect as computation allows. For INS-018-055, the AI identified a novel target, a kinase enzyme called TNIK, previously unexplored in IPF research. No human researcher had connected TNIK to pulmonary fibrosis. The AI found the link by processing biological data at a scale no human team could ever match. Once the target was identified, the generative model designed a molecule specifically engineered to inhibit it, precisely, efficiently, with minimal side effects. The entire design and optimization process took 18 months. The same stage in traditional pharma takes 6 to 8 years. That gap is not incremental, it is civilizational. And the cost? $6 million from concept to clinical candidate. The industry average for the same stage is over $200 million. This wasn't luck. This was a system designed to find what human biology had hidden for decades, and it delivered. To understand what INS 018055 means, you need to meet the people it was built for. People like Margaret. Margaret was 63 when she was diagnosed with IPF, a retired teacher, active, healthy, no warning signs. Within a year, climbing stairs left her breathless. Within 2, she needed supplemental oxygen around the clock. The disease was on schedule. Her doctor told her the existing treatments might buy her time, months, maybe a year, but the outcome was never in question. Margaret is not an isolated case. She is one of 5 million, and for all of them, the medical system had the same answer: wait. INS 018055 entered Phase I clinical trials in 2021. Safety testing, dose escalation. The drug had to prove it wouldn't harm before it could prove it would heal. It passed. No serious adverse events. The safety profile was clean. The AI hadn't just found a target, it had engineered something the human body could tolerate. Phase II began in 2022. This time, the question wasn't safety, it was efficacy. Does it actually work inside a living human being? Patients like Margaret were enrolled across multiple countries, randomized, blinded, measured against placebo, the gold standard of medical evidence. For the first time in their lives, these patients weren't just waiting for the disease to take them, they were inside the experiment that might stop it. The trial ran through 2023 and into 2024. Every data point collected, every lung function measurement logged, the machine waiting to be proven right. In February 2026, the Phase IIa results were published in Nature Medicine. The verdict was clear. Statistically significant improvement. The drug worked. The Phase IIa results didn't just show promise. They showed something the IPF research community had never seen before: measurable, reproducible improvement. Lung function decline, the defining marker of IPF progression, was significantly slowed in patients receiving INS 018055 versus placebo. The safety profile held. Side effects were manageable. No organ toxicity, no serious adverse events requiring withdrawal from the trial. These results were published in Nature Medicine in February 2026, one of the most rigorous peer-reviewed journals in biomedical science. The pharmaceutical industry noticed immediately. Within weeks of publication, Eli Lilly signed a licensing deal with Insilico Medicine worth $2.75 billion. That number matters. $2.75 billion is what the largest pharmaceutical company in the world paid to access one AI drug pipeline. Insilico currently has 28 drugs in development, all designed by AI. Nearly half are already in clinical stages. INS 018055 is the first to cross the finish line, but it will not be the last. The pipeline is full and accelerating. For context, traditional pharma takes 10 to 15 years to move from discovery to Phase II. Insilico did it in under 5. And the cost compression is just as dramatic. The entire Insilico discovery program for INS 018055 cost less than the annual salary budget of a mid-sized pharma research team. This is what disruption actually looks like. Not a headline, not a press release, a peer-reviewed result, a signed billion-dollar deal, a working drug. The question the industry is now asking is not whether AI drug discovery works. That question has been answered. The question is how fast it scales. Because if one AI system found one drug for one disease in 18 months, what happens when 1,000 systems run simultaneously? INS 108055 is one drug, one disease, one company. But what it represents is something far larger than any of those three things. Roughly 10,000 known diseases affect human beings today. Fewer than 10% have approved treatments. The remaining 9,000 have nothing. No drug, no cure, no option. For most of medical history, the limiting factor was never knowledge alone. Time, money, and complexity, those were the walls medicine kept hitting. Biological systems are staggeringly complex. A single cell contains millions of interacting molecules. No human brain can hold that picture all at once. Artificial intelligence removes all three barriers simultaneously. Processing runs at machine speed, and costs collapse to a fraction of traditional methods. Patterns buried inside biological data, patterns completely invisible to human researchers, suddenly become readable, actionable, exploitable for medicine. AlphaFold 3, released in 2024, pushed this capability even further. Now the system predicts how proteins interact with DNA, RNA, and small molecules, all simultaneously. That means mapping the full choreography of cellular biology in a single computational pass, something that previously required decades of laboratory work. Self-driving laboratories are now emerging alongside these AI systems, robotic platforms that design, run, and evaluate experiments entirely on their own, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. No lunch breaks, no fatigue, no human required. Consider what the University of Toronto's self-driving lab achieved. Over 10,000 experiments completed in the same window a traditional lab would finish 200. Not incrementally faster, a completely different category of scientific capability. The acceleration is exponential, and it is only beginning. Yet with acceleration comes a responsibility the industry cannot afford to ignore. The ethics of AI drug discovery are genuinely complex, and they deserve honest examination. Ownership is the first fault line. Who owns an AI-discovered drug? The company that built the system or the researchers who trained it? What about the patients whose biological data the machine learned from? Their contribution sits at the foundation of every result, invisibly. Regulatory timelines are the second pressure point. If AI compresses development from 10 years to 18 months, should approvals accelerate to match? Speed without oversight has consequences. Every shortcut in medical history that skipped rigorous review has eventually extracted a human price. Access is the third and perhaps most uncomfortable question. Cheaper to discover does not automatically mean cheaper to buy. Drug pricing is driven by market logic, not production cost. Consider the diseases this technology could unlock: malaria, tuberculosis, neglected tropical diseases killing millions every year in low-income countries. Traditional pharma had no financial incentive to pursue them. The question is whether AI changes that calculus or simply replicates the same inequalities at higher speed. None of these questions come with clean answers. However, they are exactly the questions that will determine the shape of what comes next. Greatest medical revolution in human history, or the most unequal one? The technology is the same either way. The difference is the choices we make now. What we know with certainty is this: a machine just solved a problem that killed millions and defeated medicine for 70 years. 18 months, $6 million, a working drug in human hands. The door is open, and it is never closing again. We are standing at the beginning of something medicine has never seen. Not an improvement, not an iteration, a complete reinvention of how drugs are born. INS 018-055 is the proof of concept. AlphaFold is the foundation. Self-driving labs are the engine, and the pipeline behind them contains 28 more candidates and counting. Every disease that has defeated medicine for decades is now a potential target. Every unsolved biological problem is now a dataset waiting to be processed. Margaret's disease now has an answer. 5 million people have a reason to hope that didn't exist 2 years ago. That is what this technology actually means. The $6 million drug just changed medicine forever. Hit like, share this with someone, and subscribe to SynthCosmos. We cover the science reshaping our world as we know it every single week. We'll see you in the next one.